Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 273 based on novel. So let's start. After the first collision, the battle between the two became more intense. During the collision, Scorpion Mountain was more cautious. In the face of Xiao Yan's heavy ruler, he no longer dared to take the gear easily. However, with the peak terrorist cultivation of Yuan Huang and the speed comparable to that of the strong of Yuanzhong, Xiao Yang couldn't help each other for a time. On the contrary, the flying sickle in Scorpion Mountain was a little embarrassed. Although Xiao Yang can easily block the flying sickle with Xuanzhong ruler, the chain on it is like a living creature. When the two collide, they are simply wrapped up. The flying sickle directly bypasses the resistance of Xuanzhong ruler and cuts directly towards Xiao Yang's neck. If not with its own speed and super defense, I'm afraid Xiao Yang can't escape such a fierce attack. Avoiding the flying sickle, Xiao Yang didn't dare to stop. He pulled back the Xian heavy ruler from the chain with a sudden force, bringing up sparks and a sharp friction sound. Then, his body rushed forward, held the heavy ruler in hand and waved it towards the Scorpion Mountain. With the flying sickle, Scorpion Mountain has an advantage in long-distance combat. If you can't get close, you still can't defeat it. In the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang's body shape already appeared over the top of Scorpion Mountain. He clenched his huge ruler with both hands and gave a sharp drink in his mouth. Then he angrily cleaved down at the head of Scorpion Mountain with the momentum of opening the mountain. This blow, without any fancy, just the surging and terrible force, the foot front fell, and the strong pressure followed. Everywhere, the invisible void turned into a vacuum, and the wind of hunting was even more intense. Still coming. Looking at the heavy ruler of the rapid housing loan in his eyes, Scorpion Mountain smiled coldly. After understanding Xiao Yang's power, he faced it again at the moment. Naturally, he was not afraid. The short sword in his left hand turned, and the chain turned around to take back the sickle. At the same time, his right hand suddenly clenched into a fist, and the vigorous source gas covered the surface of the fist and solidified into Q-tin, followed by a fierce fist, and the giant ruler on his head. The space in front of him suddenly fluctuated violently when a fist was blown out. Circles of invisible energy ripples quickly swept through the air. At the moment when the sharp sonic boom rang through, the fist of Scorpion Mountain also collided with Xiao Yang's heavy ruler. Bang! When the two collided, the fierce force burst out in an instant, and the space around the two people collapsed in an instant. Under the pouring of the powerful energy contained in the huge ruler, the body of Scorpion Mountain first sank slightly, and then, when the low sound of his mouth sounded, his arms suddenly shook, and a more terrible force erupted from the collision between the two. The giant ruler was instantly hit and flew up, but he was out of the control of Xiao Yang's palm. Almost at the same time, Scorpion Mountain waved his left hand suddenly, and the sound of the chain suddenly sounded. He picked up the black flying sickle and appeared in front of Xiao Yang again. The flying sickle was cold, quickly cut through the void and cut Xiao Yang's throat. Hiss! However, what changed the Scorpion Mountain's face was that the flying sickle once again passed through Xiao Yang's body, which was another residual shadow. At the moment when Xian Chongkai left Xiao Yang's palm, his figure had already disappeared in place. Although Scorpion Mountain returned to his senses, it was too late. At the moment of looking back, Xiao Yang's body was standing behind him, his hands pinched and printed, and a huge flame finger over his head had solidified. Before he could make any action, he smashed it down. Mi Huang means. The low cry came from Xiao Yang's mouth. The energy breath contained in the flame fingers falling from his head became more vigorous at this moment, and the mighty momentum rose against the wind. The terrible energy contained in it also made the Scorpion Mountain frown at this time. After all, he is the strongman at the peak of Yuan Huang. Although the speed of Xiao Yang's attack is not slow, his power cannot be underestimated at the moment. With a heavy stamp on the soles of his feet, the vast source qi in his body gushed out in time, and quickly condensed behind him into a real energy shield, which took over Xiao Yang's memory. Although he resisted Xiao Yang's finger, Scorpion Mountain's face didn't seem to have changed much. On the contrary, the killing intention in his eyes gradually became stronger. While facing Xiao Yang, His arm holding the dagger vibrated rapidly. With the crazy infusion of internal chi, he saw that the dagger in his palm seemed to split into countless combinations at the moment, and the residual shadows seemed real and illusory. Mixed with the cold light, with the bone chain trembling, the sword shadow all over the sky burst out and wrapped every part of Xiao Yang's body. The attack was fierce and old. In the face of such an attack, Xiao Yang's face remained unchanged, his heart was silent, and his feet did not change. Tianjue's step suddenly showed up. His body shook left and right in the air strangely, and unexpectedly avoided the sky sword shadow. Even if he occasionally touched him, he was easily blocked by his super defense of golden elephant, and even stretched out his hand to recall the mysterious heavy ruler. The broad and strong ruler body waved flexibly in Xiao Yang's hand and resisted some swords. The fire light from the heavy ruler shone on the face, showing a calm. Until a certain moment, when Xiao Yang's body suddenly flashed into the void with chaotic sword shadow, the fine light in his eyes suddenly flourished, and a low drink came from his throat. Immediately, the dark heavy ruler in his hand suddenly waved and cut out with a raging purple fire. Immediately, he hit a real and illusory sword shadow in the sky. Ding! When the crisp collision sound resounded in the void, the sword shadow around suddenly dissipated. Only a short sword connected to the bone chain suddenly appeared in the void. It was also a black short sword. At this time, it collided with the thick edge of the Xian heavy ruler. Drink! Feeling the powerful power from the short sword, Xiao Yang suddenly gave a low cry. Without hesitation, he poured the source gas into the giant ruler. While the flame sword, an explosive force also surged out of the mysterious ruler, and finally rushed into the short sword. Bang! The dull collision sound suddenly sounded, and the short sword and the bone chain were instantly hit and flew out, but almost in an instant, Xiao Yang's whole spirit was suddenly shocked, and a cold killing intention that surprised him was around him at the moment. Avenue of the Dead! With the cold cry of Scorpion Mountain falling, Xiao Yang immediately saw that in the void around him, a huge black sickle was quickly condensed and surrounded Xiao Yang. The dark sickle has a cold luster, and the murderous spirit on it is even more awe-inspiring. At a glance, the sickle all over the sky seems to be the wave of death. The two sides have not fought yet, but they can make people have no intention of war. Rao is still afraid of these sickles because of Xiao Yang's mind at the moment. Does the road condense? Xiao Yang frowned and whispered in his mouth. Immediately, his body suddenly shook, and the purple flame in his body rushed up, gushed out from the pores of his whole body, and quickly covered all over his body. Then the huge ruler waved hard, and the raging fire swept away quickly. The cold smell around Xiao Yang turned pale slowly until a moment later, it all dissipated. Under the power of different fire, the cold feeling from the sickle has been reduced to the lowest point by Xiao Yang. Looking at the purple flame on Xiao Yang's body surface, Scorpion Mountain couldn't help but feel surprised. It was worthy of being a strange fire. This kind of power was beyond the reach of the world, but he immediately smiled coldly. What about strange fire? Do you just want to block my avenue of the dead? If so, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. Although the different fire is strong, it is not so easy to deal with him. What's more, there is a big gap in cultivation between them. With all his strength, even the different fire can't resist his attack so easily. Xiao Yang ignored the cold sneer of Scorpion Mountain. He just kept urging the source qi in his body, so that the feeling of powerful power filled every inch of muscles in his body. At the same time, the vast source qi was also being injected madly within the huge scale in his hand. Xiao Yang's disregard made Scorpion Mountain's face tremble. Then he smiled and waved his big hand. The sickle all over the sky immediately went crazy towards Xiao Yang. At the same time, there was a continuous injection of source gas in Scorpion Mountain's hand and chain. Its light flickered faintly, and a powerful force was quietly gathering. 7 broken sky ruler. Facing the huge sickles that swooped like a hungry wolf, Xiao Yang's eyes closed slowly. When the sickles came within 10 feet of his body, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly opened. His body turned in an instant. He waved them hard without hesitation for 7 feet in succession. It was as if he was startled and collided with those sickles. After destroying most of the sickles, Xiao Yang quickly took back the huge ruler. When the ruler shadow turned over, the Liuhe swimming ruler was used one after another. Although several sickles were blocked, the ruler shadow was also forcibly broken, and a huge scar was marked on his back. Blood gushed out immediately. The severe pain made Xiao Yang's face instantly distorted. There was more than blood, but Xiao Yang didn't have time to take care of it. He waved his huge ruler one after another, which blocked all the remaining sickles. However, at this time, Scorpion Mountain suddenly moved. With several residual shadows emerging, its body suddenly appeared in front of Xiao Yang like a ghost. The Scorpion Mountain suddenly appeared in front of him, which also made Xiao Yang's eyes shrink suddenly. He couldn't help feeling a burst of panic for this guy's speed. His speed seems to have far exceeded that before. Has he been? When he was shocked, the sickle in Scorpion Mountain fell fiercely, and the sharp blade went straight into Xiao Yang's chest. The latter's face suddenly changed at the moment. Xiao Yang, your strength, but so. It's over. Scorpion Mountain smiled coldly. With a sneer in his eyes, he waved the sickle in his hand fiercely, and then fell on Xiao Yang's chest in the next second. Ding! With a clear sound, Xiao Yang's black robe on his chest was easily torn by a sickle, revealing his body covered with scales and a layer of golden streamer on it. This is the battle between the Dragon Phoenix ancient armor and the Golden Elephant. While the fire burst, Xiao Yang's double defenses were still broken, and the tip of the sickle passed through the skin, even cut off his ribs and hurt his internal organs. If it wasn't for his defense, I'm afraid Xiao Yang's internal organs would be torn apart by Sheng Sheng. What? Seeing this scene, Scorpion Mountain's eyes were frozen, his left hand turned, and his short sword wanted to stab out. But then, Xiao Yang's body lay back and fell down. While a dark curtain emerged behind him, his body was swallowed in an instant. Void. Avenue. The successive changes made Scorpion Mountain's face become gloomy. He didn't expect that Xiao Yang had the power to refute after he shot. Even the power of the road he mastered shocked Scorpion Mountain. Pooh. Somewhere in the void, when Xiao Yang's body reappeared, he couldn't help spitting out a big mouthful of blood. The whole person's face quickly turned pale. The sharp pain on his chest and back made him tremble, especially the wound left behind by the power of the road. At the moment, the blood is still flowing uncontrollably, which is even more a trouble. What shocked Xiao Yang most at the moment was that this guy, Scorpion Mountain, had hidden his real strength from the beginning. Judging from his previous moves, both speed and strength are far better than the strength he showed at the beginning. At this time, Xiao Yang has been able to determine that this Scorpion Mountain is the third source strongman in the Burning Valley at the moment, except those two in the air. You are. Yuanzong. Xiao Yang's eyes are dignified. This guy has been delaying to hide his real strength. What do you want to do? Ha ha, have you been found, but it doesn't matter. As long as you are solved, no one will notice my real strength. Smelling the speech, the Scorpion Mountain turned around and couldn't help grinning. This smile was quite ferocious. Scorpion Mountain originally planned to hide his real strength until the end. After the two cases jointly destroyed the Burning Valley, he unexpectedly killed Ren Puppet. In that way, the extreme south would become his world. But who could have expected that Ren Puppet would collude with the Ghost Hall, which made his hegemony plan troublesome? But fortunately, Xiao Yang's strange fire easily destroyed Ren Gui's King Kong puppet. Naturally, that guy no longer became a threat. As for the strong in the Ghost Hall, he naturally handed over to the Burning Father to deal with. The more they fought, the happier he was. Ha ha, fight hard and die. In this way, I can get the whole extreme south without effort. Now, it's your turn. Scorpion Mountain smiled and looked at the Burning Ancestor and the Lord of the Owl Hall who were fighting fiercely in the air. Then, the extremely cold sight returned to Xiao Yang again. With a move in his heart, the mighty source gas in his body was immediately injected into the sickle in his hand. If you want to kill me, I'm afraid it's not so easy. Seeing the Scorpion Mountain's eyes coming, Xiao Yang snorted coldly when his face changed. Then his hands quickly lifted up, 10 fingers linked, and the surging soul force poured out quickly. Then, he quickly condensed in the void on one side and turned into the embodiment of the 9 incarnations. At this moment, The breath of the 9 incarnations has reached the realm of the Source King. In 3 years, with the improvement of Xiao Yang's accomplishments, there is also the 9-turn incarnation formula. When Xiao Yang left the Fire Maple Forest, the accomplishments of the 9 incarnations have reached the realm of the Source King. After the baptism in the previous Thunder Pool, good luck has broken through to the 2-star Source King, which can be said to be a powerful force. Oh, it's actually an incarnation. It's a good way to have the cultivation of the 2-star Source King, but this method is only useful for ordinary Source Emperors. For me, looking at the other side of the eye, under the joint attack of Qingfeng and others, Scorpion Mountain sneered faintly. However, before his words were completely spit out, he saw a glittering white light shining on the 9 incarnations next to Xiao Yang. Those lights kept converging, but they were all integrated in a few breathing times. The 9 incarnations are integrated into one. What if so? Xiao Yang glanced faintly at the confident guy. A low cold hum came from his throat. He looked at the avatar on one side. They had a tacit sneer, and then their body flashed suddenly. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded the Scorpion Mountain one by one. The 9 incarnations become one, and their strength has soared a lot. At the moment, the cultivation of the incarnation has been comparable to the king of the 7-star source, and its combat power is not bad. If you really start, even Scorpion Mountain can't completely ignore it. I can see that after the fusion behind me, the cultivation achievement has been promoted to the incarnation of the 7-star Source King, and the expression in the eyes of Scorpion Mountain has not changed. The power of this incarnation is really amazing. If the power of the 9 incarnations is stronger, it cannot be said that under the fusion, it can recreate an incarnation that can be compared with Xiao Yang's ontological cultivation achievement. That is the real terror. Xiao Yang's combat power is already so amazing. If he really integrates one by virtue of his avatar, it is difficult for him to deal with it. However, fortunately, the imagined situation did not appear. Therefore, these 2 people at the moment are still not his opponents. Scorpion Mountain, now, dare you say it's useless to you? The voice of extreme cold fell. Xiao Yang didn't give Scorpion Mountain any time to reply. Together with the avatar behind him, they moved together. Then they turned into 2 residual shadows, holding a giant ruler and slashed toward Scorpion Mountain from all directions. One by one, the 2 men went to the Scorpion Mountain and held the heavy ruler tightly with both hands. Xiao Yang gave a low cry in his throat, and the giant ruler immediately waved out, as if to sweep away the thorns. At the same time, the avatar behind the Scorpion Mountain held the flame giant ruler high above the top with both hands, showing the trend of opening the mountain, rode straight across the sky and angrily chopped down the head of the Scorpion Mountain. The strong offensives in 2 different directions make it difficult for Scorpion Mountain to take care of everything. Such a sandwiched attack makes it impossible for it to avoid, so it has to fight it. I'm afraid of you. The avenue of the dead, the sickle of death. Seeing this, the Scorpion Mountain Pass immediately gave a low cry, and the backhand took the chain into the ring, and then his hands blasted out one after another. Almost at the same time, the power of the road quickly condensed between the palms, and in the twinkling of an eye it turned into 2 huge sickles painted black. The sickles whirled in his palm and broke the air. At the same time, the chaotic shadows almost formed a circular shield. At the moment when Xiao Yang and his avatar attacked and fell hard, they suddenly pushed outward, and the 2 sickles immediately collided violently with the giant ruler. While the fire burst, the powerful power attached to them, in an instant, they also shook Xiao Yang out. What about the avatar and the peak of Yuanwang? In front of Yuanzong, it's nothing. The 2 men retreated with one blow, and the face of Scorpion Mountain did not change. In a twinkling of an eye, he appeared in front of the avatar. His 5 fingers bent into claws, and he tore them hard from the front of the avatar's chest. His body immediately flew backward uncontrollably. Before he could stop his body, the ferocious color of Scorpion Mountain's face suddenly appeared, and almost at the same time, behind the avatar, the power of the road gathered again, and a painted black sickle was waving away at the avatar. At the same time, Xiao Yang, who was standing still, came to the back of Scorpion Mountain in a flash. The huge ruler in his hand was slashed from bottom to top, and the fierce ruler Orn also broke out suddenly in a moment. 7 Broken Sky Ruler. With 1 foot, the body of Scorpion Mountain burst instantly, and then turned into nothingness, which seems to be just a remnant of the latter. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's face suddenly changed, and it was too late to dodge. Behind him, a very cold breath came. The body shape of Scorpion Mountain appeared behind him like a ghost. His face was ferocious, his right palm was raised, and then, bang! A palm fell heavily on Xiao Yang's back, and the strong power suddenly gushed out. The defense on the body surface was broken in the blink of an eye, and a strong palm print also appeared on Xiao Yang's back. It looked so dazzling with a huge scar and blood. Xiao Yang's body was blown out by Sheng Sheng under this palm. His face quickly turned white. He spit out several big mouthfuls of blood in his mouth, and his breath also decreased a lot. This palm can hurt Xiao Yang a lot. However, in the twinkling of an eye, he found Xiao Yang's avatar standing in the void not far away, staring at him coldly. The original solid body has become illusory at the moment. It seems that the price paid by the avatar is not small in order to take that blow. Hey, are you still there? Let me finish you myself. With a sneer, the body shape of Scorpion Mountain trembled slightly, and the face of the avatar changed instantly. The body shape quickly retreated. Scorpion Mountain caught up easily without haste and delay. At the same time, the source gas left in Xiao Yang's body is also rapidly passing. Quack, 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 quack. Ignoring Xiao Yang, who was seriously injured at the moment, Scorpion Mountain appeared in front of the avatar in a blink, and their noses almost touched each other. Just as the latter's face changed, a breaking wind suddenly sounded behind him, and then the avatar was kicked out by Scorpion Mountain. After several collisions, the avatar was constantly abused in Scorpion Mountain's hands, until a certain moment. Pooh! The 5 fingers of Scorpion Mountain's right hand are bent into claws, and 1 claw from front to back pierces the chest of the avatar. The latter's body gradually becomes illusory, and the whole person is powerless to hang on Scorpion Mountain's arm. However, at the next moment, when the ferocious color on the surface of Scorpion Mountain gradually expanded, his eyebrows suddenly wrinkled. He obviously noticed that the power in his body was in a crazy riot, and the power about to collapse quickly gathered, and then became more violent and uncontrolled, which also made the pupil in Scorpion Mountain's eyes shrink suddenly. This guy blew himself up. When I thought about it, Scorpion Mountain didn't take care of that many. I immediately wanted to take back my arm from this guy's body. However, the moment I looked up, the avatar's face was full of sarcasm, and the cold faint voice of words slowly spit out. Sorry, it's late. The next second, the roar of explosion suddenly rang through the void. Boom! In an instant, the roar containing huge energy suddenly rang through the sky, and several battle circles close to it were forced to stop. Some people were even injured under the sweep of this energy. The hum echoed in everyone's minds, making their eyes slightly blurred. When the explosion came out, a wave of energy like a real version fluctuated wildly. Even the void space collapsed under this terrible energy collision. It was not until a long time that the energy wave filled the sky dissipated slowly. Therefore, the collapsed void also recovered at the speed visible to the flesh eye. Above the sky, under the gaze of countless eyes, the body shape of Scorpion Mountain finally appeared again in front of everyone present. However, at the moment, the Scorpion Mountain has recovered its original appearance. Its body has changed into a body of warcraft. It looks ferocious and patrols all the people present. Especially when the pair of dark red animal pupils fall on Xiao Yang, the crazy roar can't help but spread out. The buzzing sound is heard again in the world. Surprised eyes kept falling on Scorpion Mountain. At a glance, they immediately found that the right body of the giant beast was obviously missing, and that was the arm of Scorpion Mountain. During the previous incarnation explosion, he was closest and couldn't escape at all. Although he resisted with his surging source gas, he still couldn't keep his right arm. I think he turned into a body after being completely angered at the moment. The skill of the road. The ghost sickle seduces the soul. Scorpion Mountain stared at Xiao Yang with both eyes and a big mouth, and a terrible suction suddenly burst out. At the same time, a strange sound of clicking suddenly came, and bone chains connected with huge sickles flew out of Scorpion Mountain's mouth. The target not only pointed at Xiao Yang, but also hooked up with other strong people close to him, and many of them are still the people of his two sects. They don't distinguish between the enemy and me. This Scorpion Mountain can really be called cruel and cruel. Under such strange means, the people present could not be spared. After all, it was the strong ones of Yuanzhong who shot, and it was naturally difficult to resist with their strength. However, just when the ghost sickle was hooked towards Xiao Yang, when he came to the latter, Xiao Yang finally slowly raised a pale face, stared at the ghost sickle rapidly enlarged in his eyes, and raised his palm slowly. A flame wheel is slowly rotating between the palms of your right hand. Buddha. Anger. Round. Back. At the same time, Xiao Yang raised his palm, and the rotation speed of the wheel in his palm suddenly accelerated. In the middle of the wheel, a black spot the size of a thumb gradually twisted. When the ghost sickle came in front of Xiao Yang's body suddenly trembled, and a huge black light column burst out of the wheel, instantly submerged the ghost sickle. Together with its strength and the bone chain, it was quickly swallowed under the erosion of the black light column until it dissipated. And this is not over. The huge black light column rises to meet the storm and devours all things in front. The sky is the same, and the whole world is stained with an indelible black. Through all the ghost sickles, under the power of this light column, it is either swallowed or decomposed, and returns to this world under an inexplicable power. Until... bang! The light column directly penetrated into the Scorpion Mountain pass, and the strength on it suddenly stagnated, and the body of the latter trembled violently. For a long time, the Scorpion Mountain trembled up and down, and the scarlet blood overflowed from itself. The whole body was expanding rapidly at the speed visible to the naked eye. At a certain moment, the dark light column was a bang. From front to back, the Scorpion Mountain was completely penetrated, and the vitality in its eyes dissipated rapidly at this moment. Hiss, hiss. On the pillar of light, the power soared until finally, the huge body of Scorpion Mountain was swallowed by the pillar of light and completely disappeared between heaven and earth. In the void, everyone stared at this scene with a blank face, and their eyes were full of panic. The black light column seemed to have irreversible power. Once it was inhaled, there was no possibility of separation. When Xiao Yang's attack fell, the battle on the field gradually divided the victory and defeat. Without the help of puppets, the combat effectiveness of the people of the two sects would have decreased a lot. Coupled with the death of Scorpion Mountain, the blow to them was even greater. Both combat effectiveness and morale were much lower than before. The general trend of the two sects had gone, but the result of the whole battlefield was not clear. The two strong men of Yuan Huang in the Ghost Hall struggled to survive under the attack of 32 Lingwei. The collision between Ren Puppet and the North King was particularly fierce. The King Kong puppet was already dilapidated. Although it was reluctantly used, it had completely become a pair of scrap iron under the continuous bombardment of the North King. Ren Puppet was even more pale. Even he dared not easily get involved in the thunder power of the North King. The big elder Li Chengxiu is also in good condition. At the moment, the only thing to worry about is the collision between the Burning Father and the Lord of the Owl Hall. The two top players on the field have been fighting for a long time, but there is no victory or defeat. The source gas in their bodies has been consumed a lot. If Xiao Yang hadn't solved Scorpion Mountain, once they were really exhausted, I'm afraid they would really want to achieve their goal for that guy. But it's so. At the moment, the battle situation on the field is still unclear. One of the reasons why the two strong men are still struggling to support is the existence of the Lord of the Owl Hall. They know that no matter who this guy is, as long as the Lord of the Owl Hall wins, today's Burning Valley will not escape destruction. Therefore, the focus is not on them, but on the success or failure of the two fighting. They are also on the ancestors of Burning Heaven and the Lord of the Owl Hall. Looking at the strong men on both sides who entered the fierce battle again, Xiao Yang slowly looked up and focused on the two. In the end, the key to the victory or defeat of this battle is still him. Who? A long breath came out. Xiao Yan quickly took out several pills from the ring and swallowed them without hesitation. Feeling the warm medicinal power spreading rapidly in his body, Xiao Yan couldn't help but utter a low groan in his mouth. Then he quickly summoned up his spirit, determined that there was no one else around, and mobilized the source gas in his body again. His hands slowly lifted up, and the palm trembled. 2 different fires, one white and one blue, appeared in the palm. Then his mouth opened, and there was a red flame with it. Although Xiao Yang killed Scorpion Mountain, it doesn't mean that the war will be over. Over the Burning Valley, the fierce battle between the ancestor of Burning Heaven and the Lord of the Owl Hall is still going on. In the other important battle circles, the sound of collision is ringing through, the shadows in the sky flash quickly, and the fighting is full of everywhere. Only now there is no Scorpion Mountain beside Xiao Yang, then no one can stop him from doing anything. Ignoring the people around him, Xiao Yang stared intently at the 3 different colored flames in the void in front of him. His mind moved. Among the 3 flames, a mottled flame lit up again. That was all the remaining subfires in Xiao Yang's body. Although his power was no better than the first 3, once they were combined, his power could not be underestimated. When the mind moved, the soul power immediately lingered and controlled the 4 flames in front of him. The remaining source gas gushed out wildly, and then continuously injected into the flame. Under the control of Xiao Yang's soul power, the 4 flames gradually merged with each other. The repulsion between the 2 suddenly made the collision burst, the fire burst, the surrounding void immediately twisted and broken, and the sound like a thunder explosion sounded continuously, but it was gradually pressed down under Xiao Yang's soul power, and the 4 flames gradually merged together. At the same time, there was a terrible smell containing destructive power. It also spilled out quietly. Buzz. As soon as the terrible smell spread, several strong men in the sky immediately found Xiao Yang's place here, and the lines of sight containing all kinds of eyes quickly converged. Even the Lord of the Owl Hall, who was fighting with the burning ancestor, couldn't help casting his eyes. That's. Seeing the flame that Xiao Yang's hands were gradually fused together, the main pupil of the Owl Hall suddenly shrunk, and a terrible idea suddenly surged up in his heart. Once the thing was condensed and thrown at himself, he was afraid. Damn it! That Scorpion Mountain is too useless. The peak of Yuanhuang can't win a Yuanwang, he scolded secretly in his heart, but then, in the void on the side of the Lord of the Owl Hall, the cold laughter of Burning the Sky came suddenly. Ha ha, this is not a time for distraction. Almost at the same time, a palm with great strength was firmly printed on the shoulder of the Lord of the Owl Hall. If the latter hadn't turned in time and the palm fell on the vest, he would be seriously injured in an instant. Pooh. Rao is so. After being slapped by the Burning Father, the Lord of the Owl Hall will not feel well. He sprays blood in his mouth and flies forward with strength. At the same time, he quickly turns the source gas in his body, no longer cares about the people behind him, but runs in the direction of Xiao Yang at full speed. Compared with the Burning Father, the strange fire in Xiao Yang's hand is the most troublesome thing at the moment. At the thought of the terrible power contained in the formation of Fire Lotus, Rao was shocked by his cultivation. Seeing that this guy turned his gun head, burning the sky, Lao Zhu didn't dare to be careless. In order to stop this guy's crazy behavior, he hurriedly mobilized the source gas in his body. The seal between his hands changed rapidly. In the twinkling of an eye, it condensed into a huge fire dragon over his head. The fire dragon's huge body swept through the void and quickly caught up with the Lord of the Owl Hall. The angry dragon had a big mouth and wanted to swallow one mouthful. The Road of Ghost. Fierce ghosts devour souls. In a hurry, the Lord of the Owl Hall decisively used the skill of the road, and a large stream of black fog immediately appeared on his body. Countless ghosts were condensed in the black fog. A pair of scarlet eyes stared at the incoming fire dragon. While the sharp cry sounded, countless fierce ghosts rushed towards the fire dragon, and the 2 sides struggled. The movement was also stopped, but the Lord of the Owl Hall and the ancestor of Burning the Sky never stopped. One by one, they were getting closer and closer to Xiao Yang, who was sitting empty at the moment. With all his strength and speed, he caught up with the Lord of the Owl Hall again. His big hand immediately grabbed the latter's shoulder and wanted to pull him back. However, the latter not only didn't listen to his body, but turned around and gave him a slap back, risking his injury again. With this strength, he stopped him again. The body speed was faster and rushed towards Xiao Yang, who was close at hand. As long as Xiao Yang is solved, no one else present will become a problem. As soon as I thought about this, the Lord of the Owl Hall rushed forward a bit faster, and a burst of yin and fierce strange laughter came out of his mouth. His 5 fingers stretched out like ghost claws, and Xiao Yang was close at hand. At this time, between Xiao Yang's 2 hands, the 4 groups of flames had almost merged, and the violent power gradually became stable. The whole group of flames was like flowers to be released, rotating leisurely until the lotus petals opened one by one, and the ghost claw of the Lord of the Owl Hall finally came in front of him. At the moment when the fire lotus bloomed and flew, he held it. At this moment, the body of the Lord of the Owl Hall suddenly stopped, and the whole person seemed to be frozen in the air. Therefore, the whole heaven and earth became silent. The wars everywhere suddenly stopped, and a terrible breath of destruction fell from the sky, enveloping everyone's head, and then, boom! The earth-shaking explosion suddenly sounded, and the buzzing sounded in everyone's ears. The invisible void quietly collapsed. A burst of dazzling white light also burst out from the palm of the Lord of the Owl Hall, like a new sun. The boundless light enveloped the whole world, and everyone's eyes became pale. Soon, there was an energy storm like destroying the sky and the earth, suddenly swept. Under the white light, you can't see anything, feel any breath, or feel the existence of the outside world. No one can even determine the condition of your body. The whole world becomes silent. Until a long time later, the light fades and a touch of sunshine appears on the towering mountains. The whole world seems to recover its original appearance like dawn after night. However, many strong people in the sky are now going down the mountain. Even the Lord of the Owl Hall and the ancestor of burning the sky are also falling to the ground, and their faces are pale. It's okay for the burning god. When the fire lotus exploded earlier, he was far away and avoided a little, but the Lord of the Owl Hall didn't have such good luck. The guy held the fire lotus in his hand, and he almost bore most of the power of the fire lotus explosion. Although he could save his life in the end, he was seriously injured. Although he didn't die, he must be close. This video will end here.